All right, let's go to the first question. Over there, Stephen in Kuala Lumpur. And the question from Stephen is, I'm just not sure how I can do things radically to make a big change. Giving up too many things at once seems impossible. Okay, is there another way? And the answer is, there is a way to give up a lot of things at once. Now, I'm not going to just tell you, just do it, just cut it off, right? I'm telling you this, it's not going to be like that. It's not that easy, right? But there is a time when you can actually really cut off things completely, like on the spot. I'll give you an example. My father was in the army. He went to the Vietnam War too. My father was in the Vietnam War. And being in the army, one bad habit that he really picked up was smoking, right? It was smoking. But my dad quit smoking cold turkey, just on the spot. You know how? Because he had a reason to. He was moved, he was inspired to. Why? Because he was having children. When me and my brother were born, he had to quit, and he just quit cold turkey because he was inspired or moved to do so. What does that mean? When people are inspired, at that moment when you feel like, man, I really got to do this. You know when you get motivated and you're really, really inspired in your heart? This is the best time to do those things. I'm dead serious, right? There's no better time than the moment you are so inspired and so moved by it, right? Now, if you're not, right, I do think that you should sit down and write the things down. And you need to get yourself to a point where you can inspire yourself to cut these things off, because it's not easy. Right? But you need to see it. Sometimes, like the one thing that's the worst thing that can happen is if you cause hurt or pain to happen, then you move, right? Because that means that you knew it was bad, but you had to wait until you hurt someone you really, really, really loved before you started thinking about kind of cutting things off, right? One thing is get motivated. And two ways to get motivated. Honestly, this is truth too. You can actually motivate yourself. Motivating yourself, you gotta find reasons, right? And even more so, the best way to motivate is actually starting and trying to do things. But it is sometimes, if it's not radical, it'll take a very, very, very long time for you to quit it, and it's gonna keep coming back and forth. For myself, a couple things. For myself, personally, I would rather just cut everything off. Just because it hurts. It hurts more in the short term, but in the long run, it's much better, right? So, Stephen, I hope that you guys, you got to find a way, right? You got to find a way. Yeah, you could cut off the major things first, but if you don't cut everything off, there's always kind of that thing that can pull you back in, right? And so that's why you have to kind of reason with yourself. Write the reasons down. Write all the things down, the things that you could possibly do to hurt people. Like I know some people who drink and drive. And they haven't killed anyone, they haven't gone to any accidents, but like, do you really want to wait until that moment? Like until you actually kill or hurt someone and then quit? Right? Like I would just go off and start watching YouTube videos of like these drunk people who have killed people and they're in jail. And they see how much pain they brought to their own family and other families too, right? So that's one thing, you got to get yourself informed. The more you know, the better it is, all right? Let's move over to Jean. Jean in Jakarta, in Indonesia. Jean in Jakarta. Okay. How do I stop listening to those people around me and drown out the noise? Yes, drowning out the noise is very interesting, okay? Drowning out the noise. What's in this social media age, in basketball, because I watch basketball a lot, one of the things I find very impressive is when you see like these super famous people that have so many haters, right? So many haters against them, but it looks like they're not affected. And I was like going, man, these people are strong. Like, how strong are these people to have all these people hate them, say hateful things against them, and they can still perform well? And I was shocked one time because there's a basketball player named LeBron James, great basketball player. And they asked him like, hey, how do you like drown out the noise? And he says, I just don't read it. Yeah, I just don't read it. Which is like, I guess that's kind of easier, right? It's easier not to read it than to read it and try to overcome it. No, be strong and overcome it. But a lot of these people, these famous people, the reason why they can get over it is because there's a realization is these people aren't really that important in their life anyways. Like, who are they, right? They're not even important in your life. And for them, they don't even care. They're just there to play basketball, and they're making millions of dollars, and that's fine for them. They're living the life, they're living the dream, right? For us too, like, one thing I do tell you is, a lot of times, you don't really need to, like, you don't, like, a lot of the social media, it doesn't really make a difference, to be honest. Why? Most of these people don't even know you. And when it comes to the people that are around you, yeah, you have to surround yourself with really good people also, Gene. Yeah, because when you say, how do I stop listening to those people around you? Well, soon you'll be able to find a pattern of those people who are always saying those things to you. You know what I mean? There are those people that are always negative and always the ones that are giving you the negative information. And you need to catch those things. You need to be very aware of what's going on around you. And the people that are very, very negative, right? Then we need to be the ones that, I'm not going to say cut your friends off, right? But you need to recognize which people are the ones that are very negative, are always saying bad things. And these are the people you don't want to talk to when it comes to you needing encouragement and support, right? It's good to find a good support team, people that you really trust, people that you really, really know, and people that you know that are always looking out for your benefit. It really is. It's something that's really, really important too, okay? Thank you, Gene, in Jakarta. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is Sim Ling. In PJ, also from Malaysia. It's not easy to ignore or push past public perception, especially if they spread false rumors. How can I ignore them? Okay, so public perception at our level, because none of us are really that famous, right? So public perception to us is basically like our friends groups, right? Our group of friends and maybe a little bit outside of that group of friends. And how do you push past public perception, especially if they spread false rumors? And how can you ignore them? So one thing that you have to understand is ignoring is kind of hard. Like, there's very few people that have the ability to completely put on like the blinders and completely ignore. Like, I used to be really, really good at that, but I don't know why I can't do that anymore. But I used to be really, really good at that, right? But you don't actually have to ignore it. Ignoring is like, if you say ignore it, you're telling yourself to do something that's impossible. Which means you're telling yourself to ignore it, but you can't. So what's going to eventually happen is you're going to just feel bad about yourself. Like, oh my gosh, how come I can't ignore this? And the answer is not so much to ignore. But what I would do, especially when it's the people, the public perception around us as people who are not famous, are usually people we somewhat know, right? And first thing I would do is I would actually talk to some of the close friends around me, like the people I really, really trust, and see what they think. See what they're thinking. Like, do they believe it? And say, hey, and you can explain. Say, hey, this is what's going on, right? But you also need to know, like, what are people saying? But the best thing, like, I would tell you this right now is, one of the best medicines ever is communication. It is. Like, if you talk it out, usually there's going to be some misunderstanding somewhere, right? There will be some misunderstanding. And you know what? Sometimes even our friends, close friends, make mistakes too. So it's not like, don't sit there like, oh, you betrayed me. No. Sometimes people misunderstand. People make mistakes, right? But handle it maturely. Like, talk to your closest friend. Hey, did you hear? I heard someone say this is, yeah, did you hear this? Oh, you did? Yeah, I wonder why they're saying that. Huh. Hey, can you ask one friend of yours? Yeah, and then you talk to someone else, right? But you want to, I would definitely make sure that the people who are closest to me, just see what they're thinking too, right? And if there are any misunderstandings, because it's possible we might have made a mistake. And that mistake might have caused a misunderstanding that caused a rumor to go out, right? And if there's a misunderstanding, the best way is to resolve the misunderstanding if there is one. If not, I know there are some people out there that are pretty terrible, or they're maybe not in a very good state at that moment, or maybe they're a little bit sensitive to certain things. I'm not sure, but there's always something that happens out there. But the best way I would say is, in these cases when it comes to false rumors, is communication the best. Don't hold it in, right? If you have friends you trust, talk to them right away. Right away, talk to them right away, because you trust them, right? If you trust them, talk to them right away. What if there's a misunderstanding? Then there's a misunderstanding and you want to resolve it first. So I would first kind of be proactive with it too. It's not very good to try to hold it in and just think nothing of it. It's better to do something about it, okay? Thank you, Sim, over there in PJ. Let's go over to the Philippines. Rianne in the Philippines. How can we find our purpose? Something so powerful to struggle for and even to die for, right? So finding something, well, you have to think about this. In almost every case of finding something to die for is never about yourself. That's the first thing is, it is never about just you. If it's just about you making money, you being successful, you know, being the president, it's not enough. Finding something worth dying for, you'll look almost 99.99999% of the times, it's gonna be because of something outside yourself. It's bigger than you. That's why people can die for their country, right? That's why people can sacrifice, you know, themselves to save the world, right? Why are they able to do it? Because they have something that's bigger than yourself, right? And that's why a lot of people, when it comes to, like, say, faith, Matthew had a purpose that was much bigger than his life. It was bigger than the entire world, right? It was to spread the gospel and save people from death, right? And he lived his life saving other people. It was something so big that he could not see a single person go into, like, for people of faith, like going to hell. That he lived his life passionately, saving as many people as he could, right? So people of faith usually, when you have faith, and when you start to learn about your faith really, really deeply, you can usually find something worth dying for. But you have to think about it very deeply, right? I know a lot of people go to church too. Like, say if you're just like a Sunday Christian, people don't usually think deeply about their faith or why they're living. They're just kind of content with just having faith. And this is when a lot of these people kind of lose faith very, very quickly. And they go through these, like, up and down cycles, right? Like in faith, out of faith, in faith, out of faith. What's more healthier is remaining inside the faith, but having ups and downs inside your faith, which is much more healthier, and the growth is much higher. But you have to first realize, the first thing you have to recognize about finding a purpose that's worth dying for, it has to be bigger than yourself. It just can't be about you. Yeah. For yourself, it's not worth dying for. You couldn't. You couldn't die for money, right? You couldn't die for health. Well, that doesn't make sense, but you couldn't die for health, right? Couldn't die for clothes. Couldn't die for a house. Why? Because you're the one that wants to live in it. You couldn't die for it. But it's something outside, like someone who dies for their children, someone who dies for their friends, someone who dies for their family or their country, right? You have to find something. This is my first step to start making you think a bit more deeply about is you have to find something greater than yourself. This is also what brings people together. If you look at the Olympics, it's for your country. The country gathers together, right? If there's a big earthquake, the country gathers together to help each other. The big explosion in Lebanon, the country comes together and helps each other and cleans and helps all the people who are hurt. Right? It's got to be beyond yourself, right? And this is when you can start finding things worth dying for, okay? Thank you so much, Rianne, in the Philippines, for giving us that wonderful question. Yeah, these are really, really good questions too, and these can lead to other Taco Tuesdays and Bubble Talks also. So these are really, really good things that we can start thinking of. I can start thinking about, oh, that would be a good Bubble Talk. Yeah. Either way, that was the last question for today. I'm so thankful for all of you joining us here today on the 4th Taco Tuesday. It is the last Taco Tuesday of August. All right, next week's going to be September. It's going to be September already, as crazy as that sounds. It's September next week. Either way, very grateful. Thanks for all of you coming today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's story of Matthew from sinner to saint. Everyone have a wonderful day. And there are no more announcements, so we will end it here. Everyone, have a wonderful week, and hopefully see you either on Thursday for Bubble Talk or Saturday, next Tuesday, because there's no Bible study this Saturday. All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.